All right, good evening. Good evening. Tonight we are joined with Miss Jenny Delacruz. She is a Haitian American writer and a licensed counselor with the founder of Cobbs Creek Publishing. Welcome, welcome, and thank you so much for joining me this evening.
Thank you for having me, Sabrina. My
Yeah.
pleasure.
Oh, most definitely. Now, so let's just get into it. I was looking at the cover of your most recent book. I think it is the Mummy Mama Can I Sleep with You Tonight?
Yes.
And I think that's so relevant, because we're talking about COVID. And tell us a little bit more about this book and how it's helping the children.
Yes. This book is actually my bestseller. It's a therapeutic support book that was inspired by my very own 4-year-old. He woke me up on April 5th, I kid you not, to talk about his big feelings and fears surrounding, social distancing and what we're all going through with this pandemic. And I remember at 3 a.m., like just after he shared his feelings, he fell back to sleep. And of course, I was up. So, Sabrina, I did what I always tell my clients not to do. Don't look at your phone. I put up my phone because I had so many ideas. I was flooded with ideas that I saw as a counselor and my clients and also from the families in my community. I
Mhm.
realized we were all going through the stages of grief. And so I wrote a story between a mother and her son, and she's trying to comfort him the best way she knows how. And during the story, the characters are going through the stages of grief. And so I outline this in this book. And then towards the end of the story, I do have a list of website resources that educators and parents can go to for free.
Okay. And here is the front cover of
There we
Mama
go.
Can I Sleep with You Tonight? And as you're sharing, having this conversation with your son, and also relating back to what you share with your patients, what's all going through your mind? Because like we're in crazy times, and
Yeah.
I know that just being able to comfort him in some way to help him just deal with this, what were you telling him, and how were you getting him through this process?
I was trying to help him to identify his feelings, and that's something I do in the story where the main character is talking about feeling like butterflies in their stomach. Sometimes that can be for children associated with worry and anxiety, and so I think it's so important for children to tap into that. And what's surprising is that children go through the stages of grief, but it's displayed differently. So you might have kids who, you might see an increase in mood swings and temper tantrums and say, "What's going on?" But this is a very natural reaction to what is going on. And like I said, I provide tips. And this book is actually not only available in English, but in French and in Spanish as well.
Oh, that's great. And so now what made you want to put it in different languages?
Yeah, that's a great question. To be honest with you, Sabrina, I really wanted this book to be accessible to as many children as possible because this is such a hard issue for us all, but especially children. Especially when you have younger children and they're learning how to read facial cues and everybody's wearing masks. For those
Yes.
younger children, it's even more intimidating because I don't know if there's a smile or frown behind there.
That is true. I mean, even for the adults, you don't really know if there's and it's so much more important because there's so many things happening in the world today that we have to pay attention to the children even more. This is a big
Absolutely.
shift for them, a very big shift for them.
And
So,
oh, go ahead.
yeah, so, I was just going to say, so I really commend you on sharing this, especially as a counselor to help your son and other children to deal with this.
And it's also for adults. I shared this story with my husband. I kid you not. I wrote the draft that morning at 6 a.m. He woke up, and my husband, he works in a hospital, and I said, I need to read this draft to you, and he was just like, what in the world? And after I read it, he just froze. He said that hit me like a ton of bricks. He said I remember feeling all those feelings one day at work. And I really believe every great children's book is for adults too, because I think we're trying to be so strong for these kids. We're not really processing sometimes ourselves.
Yes, very, very true. That is so true. And as adults, like right now, we're trying to pretty much we're coping as well, and we're trying to shelter our children as much as we can, not even thinking about our feelings and what we're actually going through, because this is a change for all of us. So yes, I agree. So, and then what does your husband do? Since you say he
Yeah,
works in the field.
yeah. So he works at the outpatient pharmacy, at the hospital, and so it's been very busy, naturally with everything going on.
Right. Now, and your target audience for this particular book is really for everybody. It's not just for children, even though it's written so that children can understand and they can relate to it, but it's really geared toward everybody to help them deal with COVID.
Absolutely, absolutely. The target audience is kids from 3 to 8, but really, I believe everyone can identify with the story. And I try to make this book accessible to everyone. It's available on Amazon, Barnes and Noble, any bookstore that you go to, you can ask for it. But I also have it available on YouTube at
Mhm.
Storytime with Miss Melange, because I know that there are parents out here there who, are unemployed, and I'm sorry, buying books may not be the first thing on their to-do list. And so
Right.
all 3 languages are available on that platform.
And that is great. And so your website that they can also go to and purchase it is cobbscreekpublishing.com,
Yes.
so they can be
Thank
able to
you.
go there. And so since you pretty much kind of sound like you wrote this book pretty quickly, how long from the time that you wrote it to having it illustrated and out on the market?
Yeah. I want to say it took 3 months. And usually
Okay.
it doesn't take that long. Like my first published book, Fridays with Miss Melange Haiti, took me a year to do. This is not typical for me. And in fact, I wasn't planning on doing this. I was planning on finishing the series of my Haiti history book. And that's
Mhm.
for the older children. So I'm getting ready. That book is already, I'm finalizing it. I'm being ready to put it out. But I just felt a sense of urgency that I had to wait and do what was necessary. And so sometimes, we have to shift and pivot.
Yes. Yes, most definitely. Now, in your writer's journey, so if you've been on this journey now, how long have you been, an author?
So
You
I've been
know,
an author for 3 years.
okay, okay, and so in this on this journey, tell us some of your struggles that you've had along the way, because there's so many new young authors that want to write a book, afraid to write a book because they see the roadblocks and they get stuck. So
Yeah.
share a little bit of that with us.
Yeah, to be honest with you, as a working mom of 2 active boys, okay, so you
I can
already
imagine.
know.
I got a 3-year-old. Yes, and I'm gonna
Listen, very busy. And so I would say for me, my main challenge was to make time to write, and is to still make time to write. And so it's really about being disciplined,
Mhm.
um, making sure that after the kids go down, I put in an hour of writing. Before they get up, I might have to get up at 5 to put in an additional hour of writing. So it's like I'm getting up an hour early, and then, and so during those seasons, I'm not, watching the latest TV shows and movies, and so it is a sacrifice, right? Because you're not really doing the things that others may be enjoying it for the time period. So it is a sacrifice in that way. And I would say too, but it's definitely worth it. But I would say for me, it's the discipline
Yeah,
that's hard
and that's
because
with anything. Yep,
yeah.
and that's with anything. And so when you, as in your last story, when you came about your illustrator, how did you come about your illustrator and to bring your story to life?
Yeah. And so there's this company is based in Canada, Indie Publishing Group, and they actually not only help me with my illustrations for all of my books, but they also help with the formatting, right, to make sure that everything is, in the right spot. So I believe that with a strong team, we can acquire and accomplish anything. To be honest with you, writing is not really my strength. I believe storytelling is, and so let me tell you, if I don't have a good editor, you gonna know.
Yeah,
I'm keeping it real, and because I do think some people, because they may not be strong in writing, they will say, "Well, why should I even write a book?" No, if you have a story to tell, you just need a strong team. It's not
yeah.
about what you know, but who you know.
And that is true because in anything, if you have a strong team, you can accomplish that. So I truly do understand you there because I'm not the best writer, but having that, like you said, that editor and that graphic, that illustrator to just make that story come to life, it's amazing. It really is
Yes.
amazing. So now, now your first book. Tell us a little bit more about your first book and how you're using that to also teach kids about is it the Haitian history?
Yes, yes, absolutely. So it's called Fridays with Miss Melange Haiti. And this book was actually inspired by my oldest. My folks are from Haiti, and he started to ask me questions about my heritage. And I was looking for books, children's books about Haiti. I found books about the music, the culture, but not about the history. I think the closest thing I found was a chapter book, and so I got so frustrated. I looked in all the libraries, Amazon, and my husband said, "Why don't you just write it?" And I was like, "Okay." So it's almost like I was like, "Okay, I'll put something together." Almost like you have like the house T-shirt that you don't wear out. Like I'll put something together just for the house.
Yeah.
But Sabrina, I started putting so much work into it. It was
Hmm.
just why not go into and publish this?
Yeah.
And I wanted to write the book. This is before, you know, I believe critical conversations was a hot topic. With Black Lives Matter now, everybody named Mama is like, let's let's do this. But this is
Right.
before in 2019. I wanted to be able to have the freedom to ask critical questions, to talk about with middle age, elementary, and older kids in a comic book kind of fashion.
Hmm.
Let's talk about racism. Let's talk about colorism. Let's talk about classism. These are the things that I wanted to talk about without feeling like I was going to be censored. And that's where Cobbs Creek Publishing came to life.
Okay. 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 Well, that's great. So, I mean, it sounds like you have many more books in you that you plan to release in your series. So, I'm looking forward to reading more, learning more. I'm trying my best here with my other series here to find more books for my grandson. He's 3, and just
I
to be
love
able
it.
to read different things to him so that he just see himself a representative of himself in books, so that's so important for me to make sure that I'm exposing him to more African American authors and so that he can see illustrations that reflect his skin tone.
I
So
love it.
thank you so much for joining me. And just one last thing before you go, just again, give some encouraging words for an author that may be on the fence or a young person who wants to write. They're on the fence and not really sure if they want to move forward. So,
Yeah.
words of encouragement.
I would say, you know what? Just, how people say take one step at a time. Sometimes you just have to take one crawl at a time. You're doing baby steps. Just take 30 minutes and dedicate 30 minutes to doing it, to writing, and just see what comes out of it. You have nothing to lose.
Exactly, exactly. Again, you can find all more information about Miss Delacruz and her books on her website, cobbscreekpublishing.com. And also check her out on IG. and Facebook as well. You can find her there. Thank you again so much for joining me this evening.
Thank you
And
for
I look
having
forward
me.
to, again, connecting and reading more of your series. And you have a great evening.
Oh, you as well. Take care.
All right. Bye bye.
Bye bye.
Again, that was Miss Delacruz. She has two amazing books out right now. Check her out. Go to her website, go to her IG and Facebook page, and learn more about it. As we continue on with our author series, I want you to learn more about children's authors and what they have to offer to our young children. Different stories written by authors of color. Thank you so much. I'm Sabrina, your host, and I will see you next time.